Welcome back, challengers, to NW3C's Daily Capture the Flag Challenge. Today we're going to be looking at a 5-part question of an iOS abstraction. So we're going to go into the retired section, and we're going to come down to what's called social media fun. You will see social media fun, the coronavirus has hit around the world, the user was on their phone, apps update all the time, and bosses are all related to these days challenge. So if we select social media fun, it says social media can be a fun thing or a time waster. Take a look at the zip file from a logical abstraction and see if your time has been wasted or if your knowledge increased. Use the app abstraction.zip file to answer today's 5 total questions. What apps are these files related to? You can see we have a zip file with an MD5 hash value, and first thing we want to do is download that file, and then we are going to confirm that the hashes match. I'm going to open up Terminal on my Mac and type in the MD5 command. Once I do that, I'll drag and drop the file on there. And as you can see, AF55 at the beginning, D6, C7 at the end. I do have a valid hash and I have a good file. So let's open up this abstraction. And as I said, it's an iOS abstraction. When I open it up and expand it out, typically what I'll see is this documents folder, library folder with multiple folders and files inside. One of the things I like to look at first is databases and pictures. When I look in there, I know that Splashboard snapshots, and if I go down, I can see some folders there. A lot of people were saying this is part of the Musical.ly app. But what happens here in this section is you will find KTX files, which is usually something indicating what the app is. KTX are easily open on a Mac, so we had to convert them to PNG for those Windows users. If I open that up and I scroll through these different files, I'll see that the answer is TikTok. Not Musical.ly, but TikTok is your app to answer this question. So let's go back to our questions. After we enter it in TikTok, we would be able to move on. It says the coronavirus has hit around the world. It says who is working from home. This one was a little tricky, but also in that same section, we had some other KTX files there that we converted to PNG. And if I open up one of those KTX files, I can see working from home, and it's at hi period this is period is Tatum. This is hi, this is Tatum. I'm sorry. Make sure you have the periods and you have that at symbol in there to answer the question correctly. The next one was the user was on their phone. As I said, this was an iOS abstraction, so we're looking for the iOS version. Now, in order to do that, we want to get some information about the app. Typically, I will look through and I'll look for databases or property lists. I'll also look at file sizes. So when I'm looking through the files, I want to look over at the file sizes, and if I find something abnormally big compared to the others, like a 36.2 megabyte file, this HEIMDALLR.DB database file, I'm going to look at that for sure. When I open that up, I can see that this says, hey, HMD application session, battery monitor, CPU monitor, all these tables are inside of this database. If I open up the application session, I see a lot of different things. And when I scroll down, I see that these are listed as columns, and one of the columns is OS version. So I'm going to go to Browse Data, and I'm going to go to that particular table. And when I scroll over, I can see an OS version for the app. So 13.3.1 is our answer for the OS version. Now the next question is somewhat close there, or similar to that. Apps update all the time. It says, what is the version of the application being used? I did notice that on this particular table as well. So if I scroll over, I can see app version 14.9.0. Now both those answers are in many different locations in databases and tables. This is just one location for them, but you could find it in multiple places. Now bosses, this is where it gets a little bit harder. On 3/10/2020 at 21:44:16 EST, my boss really doesn't like what? So I know that this is a TikTok app. I know that that means there's videos online. And if I look in here and I look at this timestamp does not do me any good. But I also look through this table. I don't see much else related to, or could be possibly relating to videos on a TikTok app. So I'm going to look and I'm going to scroll through here, and I'm going to notice that there's a table called HMD HTTP detail record. And that is the one that I actually want to go through. So if I expand this one out, I will be able to see that there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. One of the things I see is absolute URL. That might be of interest to me. A lot of columns in this table. I don't necessarily need all this information, but I'm going to look at this table anyway. So if I switch over and change the table from HMD application session to HMD HTTP detail record, I see a local ID, timestamp, in-app time. Again, I see that OS version and app version there. So I could have answered those other two questions here as well. And if I scroll over even more, I see that there's an absolute URL column. Now, if you're interested in finding more information about these, you could come to our online SQL class or our mobile class or even our Mac class. We talk about these. But notice I have 3,496 different rows. So I want to first thing to do, make sure I can figure out what is happening on that particular date. I've written what's called a SQL query here. I'm going to take this SQL query that I've already written. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to put that in my database browser. Once I do that, and I'm going to go through this line by line, it says select. And it says select, give me the local ID column. I want to see local ID. That's like a number telling me where I'm at. I want to see the timestamp column, but I actually have to use the date time command, and I'm going to tell it put in local time, unique epoch, so that it's converted to Eastern Standard. And then that way it says also show me the column header as date. Once I do that, then I'm also going to say, also show me the absolute URL column. And then finally, I'm going to say from, so show me from the particular table, HMD HTTP detail record. Once I have that, I can go back and see if there's anything else that I want, which right now, currently at this time, I don't think that there's anything else I need or want, but if I wanted to, I could add more lines into that query. Again, we have an online class, and we also have a mobile class, so we dig very deep into queries and writing, or databases and writing SQL queries. Sorry about that. But if I hit the play button, I can see down here, I get a local ID, and I get the date and time. And notice that date and time is in a nice format for me to read, and I get an absolute URL. So if you remember, what I asked for you is to find, or the question said, find what a boss doesn't really like at 3/10/2020 at 21:44:16. Now there's other things you could do where you could actually filter this out, but I'm just going to go ahead and scroll through it. As I scroll down through it, I can see 3/10/21:44:16 is right here at local ID 5942. I get an absolute URL. I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to open up my Google Chrome. I'm going to say paste and go. It says my boss really doesn't like getting scared. So the answer obviously there is getting scared. My boss doesn't really like what? Getting scared. That's the answer for all the questions. We really enjoyed putting these up for you. Hopefully you got all that, and come back for the next challenge.